Are you finding that your baby wants to feed constantly, or that there are really short intervals between each of your baby's feeding sessions? If so, this is called cluster feeding, and it can be challenging to deal with. I experienced this with my daughter when she was a baby, and I'd sometimes spend about 4 to 5 hours sitting on my sofa feeding my daughter non-stop. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing some top tips to help you to deal with cluster feeding with calm, confidence and patience. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name's Anja and I'm a hypnobirthing practitioner. My channel's here to support you through pregnancy, birth and motherhood. So please consider subscribing and clicking the bell icon because I upload a new video every single Tuesday and I don't want you to miss out on any important information. Cluster feeding is most common on day 2 after you've given birth, weeks 2 to 3 and 4 to 6 of your baby's life, and then again when they're about 3 months old, but sometimes older babies can cluster feed as well. Researchers aren't 100% sure why babies cluster feed, but the most probable reasons are that they're experiencing a growth spurt, that they're seeking comfort and physical contact from you as a parent, that they're overtired or overstimulated. If your baby is going through a growth spurt, they're going to want more milk than usual to fuel their growth, so this is perfectly normal. If they're seeking comfort, this again is very natural. You're your baby's entire world and they want to feel close to you and soothed by your milk and your presence. If your baby's overtired or overstimulated, this could be quite overwhelming for them. The world is a really big and exhausting place for a baby, and it takes a lot of getting used to, so your baby might cluster feed to help them to switch off from the external distractions, to unwind and possibly fall asleep. You only really need to be concerned about cluster feeding if your baby is losing weight and they don't have regular wet nappies throughout the day. If you're concerned about your baby's well-being, you should speak to your doctor or a feeding specialist and they'll check your baby for lip tie, tongue tie and latching issues which could be preventing your baby from getting enough milk. So now I'm going to share my top tips to help you to stay calm and relaxed while your baby is cluster feeding. So my first tip is to make sure that you've got access to a supportive chair, sofa or bed with plenty of pillows so that you can feed your baby comfortably. Also make sure that you've got a decent feeding station set up right next to you with drinks for you, snacks, your mobile phone, your TV remote control and even a white noise machine, because the last thing that you want while you're cluster feeding is to be really thirsty or really hungry and not have access to drinks or food. Also, it can be really boring cluster feeding your baby, and the last thing that you want is to be unsettling your baby by moving about a lot to get the TV remote control or whatever it might be. So just make sure that you've got easy access to everything so that you can just reach out your hand and get what you need. If you find that your baby is quite fussy or frustrated whilst cluster feeding, it can be a really good idea to keep the lights low in the room that you're in. So close the curtains, switch on a lamp in the corner of the room, and also make sure that any noise is kept to a minimum. So keep any noises on a low volume if possible. If you take off your top and your baby's top and you feed them skin to skin, you're increasing the flow of oxytocin around both of your bodies. Oxytocin is the hormone responsible for helping you and your baby to bond more deeply, and oxytocin also helps to induce feelings of calm and relaxation in both of you. Just ensure that if you are feeding your baby skin to skin, cover yourselves over with a blanket or something if the temperature of your room is slightly on the cool side, because you don't want your baby or you to get too cold. Cluster feeding can be quite physically and emotionally draining whilst it's going on, so just make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Stay hydrated, make sure that you're eating plenty of healthy fruits and vegetables, sleep if you can when your baby sleeps, and just forget about your to-do list and any household chores that you think need completing. they can all wait. Just do your cluster feeding, rest, relax, and try to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and keeping your energy levels up. Cluster feeding can make your nipples quite sore, so it's a good idea to use nipple cream, to place warm compresses on your breasts, and to alternate between different feeding positions to reduce any discomfort. Cluster feeding can feel stressful, tiring, boring and frustrating at times. So make sure that you're breathing in and out deeply and slowly to help you to stay calm and to help you to surrender to the process of cluster feeding rather than getting all worked up about it. Since cluster feeding can take an awful lot of time out of your day, it can be difficult to get anything else done. Now, I don't want you to worry about this because you are playing the most important role by looking after and feeding your baby. However, if you need additional support with anything, please seek help from your partner, a friend or a family member. Perhaps they could help you with cooking, cleaning the house, doing a little bit of shopping for you, or perhaps looking after an older sibling if you've got other children. So it can be quite challenging to entertain an older child at the same time as cluster feeding. So if anybody can come over and look after an older sibling for you, that could be really helpful and allow you to just purely concentrate on the cluster feeding so you don't have to think about anything else. Now, you're probably going to be happy to hear that cluster feeding does end, and it usually only goes on for a few days at a time. But whilst you are cluster feeding your baby, make sure that you're embracing the situation rather than fighting against it, because if you embrace what's happening, that's going to make it easier for you to deal with. And also just congratulate yourself on the amazing job that you're doing looking after and nourishing your beautiful baby. So I hope you found those tips helpful. If you've got any questions about cluster feeding, please leave me a message in the comments section beneath this video and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you'd like to listen to a calming meditation whilst feeding your baby, please click the video on the screen right now. See you again in my next video.